Hi guys, this is another hand from the epicenter of poker in the southwest of the UK. That is my local casino. We're playing 51 here again on a Saturday night. It often gets straddled to £2, as you'll see, and that's the case in this hand. What I want to talk about this time out is a couple of things. Firstly, what live players are thinking during the hand, particularly Villain 1, but also Villain 2. I want to touch on bet sizing and also talk about how I played the hand. I don't feel I played it particularly well, as I'll describe later on. So anyway, it's let's get on with the hand, and I'll talk you through it. Straddle to 2, Villain 1 calls, Villain 2 calls, fold. C7 calls. So it gets to me on the button with King 9 off. There's £9.50 in the pot. Now I've just called last 3, which is a courtesy thing we do in our casino. It allows the staff to fill the seats quicker when someone leaves. I've called last 3, and this is the last of my 3. I'm about to get on a coach and catch a flight to Asia for a 6-week backpacking trip. My thoughts here are that I can put in a raise and squeeze this pot, take down the money, or maybe get one caller and take it down on the flop, and then I'm off to duty free with an extra £20 in my pocket. This is not how it turns out, as you'll see. There's a lot more drama before any of that can happen. So I raise to 8, and it folds round to Villain 1, who insta calls. Villain 2 calls, seat 7 folds. And we see a flop 3-handed. Flop is Jack 10 4 all hearts. It's not a bad flop for me. I've got a second nut draw and some backdoors. Villain 1 and 2 check this flop to me, and I bet £18 into £29.50. Now that's a light bet, I'm sure you've noticed, but in live play against non-thinking players, they're not thinking about how much your bet is in relation to the pot. They're thinking, oh, it's £18. Let's have a look at my cards. Is it worth £18? And then they make a decision. This means you can often make some light bets when you've got draws, such as I have here, and get almost direct pot odds, not having to rely on implied odds. So anyway, gets called in both spots. Now, I'd just like to discuss Villain 2. Pre-flop, he called off 10% of his stack. He's got a bet from me on the button, which I don't know how much he's thinking about that, but he knows I can raise quite wide from there. But Villain 1 is a rock. I just don't know what he's thinking. The fact is, he's probably not. He's probably sat there looking at some ace-jack type hand, ace-10 type hand, thinking, oh, I can make a pair with this, and it might be good. I'll call. Now on the flop, they've both checked to me. Villain 2 would certainly bet out at this point if he had anything. I've made the bet, as you see. Villain 1 took some time but called fairly quickly. Villain 2 almost insta-called. This makes me think he maybe has the ace of hearts in his hand, has ace 10, wants to see one more card. I don't know what either of them think I have at this point. I'm trying to represent a monster. I'm not sure either of them are thinking about what I've got. They're just thinking about what they've got, which is a worry for me. This is not going to plan. There's now £83 in the pot, and I'm not happy. The turn's an 8, giving me some more outs. And the two villains check it to me again. I think I can exercise some pot control here. However, I elect to make a hasty decision and bet out again, albeit once again a light bet. Villain 1 thinks for a while and then calls again. Villain 2 folds. I never did see what he had. I like to think I was right and he had some one pair type hand, ace 10 perhaps. The real worry for me is what villain 1 has. I'm beginning to think he's got a set of jacks, set of 10s maybe. Outside possibility of ace queen of hearts, that's still on my mind. Although I've pretty much dismissed that because of the time he took to call on the turn. Now 7 is obviously a great card for me. I've made a straight. And the ace of hearts hasn't got there. Villain 1 once again checks to me. Now the other thing the size of my bet on the turn did was set up a decent shove on the river, which was plan B. Villain 1's got 109 in front of him, and he looked fairly nervous on the turn. I'm hoping that if I never had any showdown value, I could at least put some pressure on him on the river and maybe get a fold. So anyway, I shove and Villain 1 goes into the tank. He starts to think for ages. He's picking up bits of food, putting it down again, muttering under his breath. This is all great news for me. He hasn't got a flush. He's obviously not got the nut flush, and he would definitely call with a flush. The big question now is, what has he got? And what has he been thinking throughout this hand with what he's got? What does he think I've got? I don't even think he's even considered what I've got until now. And now he's facing putting his whole stack in and starting to think, I wonder what Rich has got. So anyway, as I say, he looks particularly nervous. He's talking to people in the seats next to him. He even asks me, what have you got, Rich? Save us £100. As if I'm going to tell him. But what that does make me think is that if I'd had a missed draw here or some other kind of air, I could literally talk him into folding here. I could say, listen, mate, I've got Jack 10. It's up to you. I don't know what you've got. If you've got a straight, you win. I really believe I could talk him into folding if I had to here. So anyway, we get some more drama. He's, as I say, picking up bits of food, staring, huffing and puffing. Then I hear him say to one of the guys in the seats next to him, I've got aces. This is great news for me. I then go into a Oscar-winning performance of looking nervous and uncomfortable. And he eventually calls. As you can see, he does indeed have 2 black aces, not even the ace of hearts. So I'm off to the airport with a lot more money for duty free than I'd first planned. But it brings up a couple of points. What was he thinking, limping those aces pre-flop? If he raises, he wins a small pot, but he wins. He probably gets Villain 2 to call if he raises, because Villain 2 called when I raised, and then he wins. If he re-raises me pre-flop, he wins. He probably gets a fold out of Villain 2, and he definitely gets a fold out of me. I'm not interested at that point in getting into a raised hand from a nit like him. If he raises the flop, he wins. If he check raises the flop, he wins. If he check folds the turn, loses less. If he raises the turn, I maybe peel one. I maybe see another card. If he check raises the turn, he wins. I lose interest and leave. At that point, I've only put £26 into that pot. He check calls all the way to the river, to the point where he's losing, and then calls. What does he think I've got by the time we get to the river? I mean, there's 3 hearts and a straightening board out there. Jeez, control should have been exercised by me, particularly on the turn. I feel betting a flop's okay. Checking through the turn would be a better strategy than what I did, which was carry on barreling. At this point, I'm thinking I can get the villain, so worry that Villain 2 is still in the hand. Anyway, there you go. There's another famous hand from our local casino. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to get some feedback from you guys. Bye-bye.